This price action has been frustrating but predictable over the last 30 days. I'm going to go over why the volume and the price action trends lead to maybe an easy opportunity to open up some trades over the weekend and be able to take advantage of them by Tuesday or Wednesday. As the charts haven't lied, everyone says the trend is your friend. What is the trend right now? We're going to go over that in this video and my exact strategy to take advantage of what has been occurring in this recent market with a lot of what feels like manipulation, long-term upside, but a choppy short-term. Let's go over it in this video, exactly the trades that I'm taking. Without further ado, let's jump into it. We'll make today's video short and sweet to close out the week as far as crypto. Obviously, the price action has been a little bit frustrating, but there's a big term in the market of do not go against the trend. And there's been a trend that's been playing out every single 7 days over the last few months. And we'll talk about that here in my strategy. But before we get started, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel for more every single week here on In the Game. We have you covered top to bottom. Everything you need to know, even in a slow crypto market, there are always opportunities for upside. So like and subscribe down below. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors here on In the Game. Today, I want to give a big shout out to our newest sponsor and one of the fastest growing companies in the entire world, and that is 𝗓𝗄𝗅. 𝗓𝗄𝗅 in the last 2 days has partnered up with CNN and CNBC. Basically, the fake news cycle is no more because prediction markets are ahead of the curve, and we've been absolutely crushing it on 𝗓𝗄𝗅 between sports, mention markets, and more. And we are doing streams here every single week, sometimes a couple times a week, on prediction markets during Trump speeches, etc. So if you want to follow along and you are in the US, deposit and trade $10 and you will get $10 on top of that as a bonus. So sign up to 𝗓𝗄𝗅 down below and definitely check out our live streams whenever we do go live. Let's go ahead and jump into the markets, guys. Obviously, look, once again, it's a frustrating market every single week. The beginning of the week brings hopium. The end of the week, you almost feel like you're down bad. Mike Tyson punched you in the gut. Like, this market is unforgiving. It gives you a bunch of hope, and then it goes right back to where we were. It's because some of the biggest entities are battling. If you look on chain, there's actually data that Binance is selling at this point in time. And then we see people like Tom Lee buying more Ethereum. We'll talk about all this here in just a second. But first and foremost, one big issue we're having this cycle is the leverage problem, okay? People start to see a singular pump in the market, and let me pull up charts on Gravity, our perps deck sponsor here on the channel. Beautiful chart to go over what I'm talking about here. We get that euphoria at the beginning of the week, over the weekend. Boom! Shoots us up from, you know, these 83K levels on this wick. And if we do the measurement from the bottom of this wick, and we go up here to the top, a 12% move in Bitcoin from the bottom here on December 1st. And these leverage traders see that as, oh, if I do 10x leverage, that's, you know, 120% gain. I can make it all back on this pump. And then what results is liquidations. I mean, perps have been one of the most toxic things for what's holding us down this cycle. On top of, like I said, big entities really battling. You're seeing Binance sell behind the scenes. You're seeing Coinbase going back and forth with BlackRock. BlackRock, we have some news on that as well. Just a lot going on in the market, but this tweet sums it up. Now we're going to liquidate them again on 100x leverage. Like, it almost does feel like someone's just repeatedly pulling the strings, leading the slaughter into longs early in the week, and then obviously liquidating them later in the week, as $125 million was wiped from the crypto market this morning in just 60 minutes. And look, it's stuff like this, you know. People get put on a pedestal in crypto. Everyone over the last 6 months has been talking about this Tom Lee guy. And to his credit, he owns 3% of the Ethereum supply. Look, if I held 3% of my favorite token, I'd be politicking and campaigning for it to go 100x as well, okay? But he's saying that Ethereum is going to go to $62,000 within a few months. How delusional. And these are the same people that are glorified and put on a pedestal like Tom Lee is the GOAT of Ethereum. Absolutely not. I mean, that is absolutely delusional just to call it how it is. And this is why people outside of crypto hate us. Like, you give these rash price predictions, people get in, and once again, they get led to the slaughter. Because, I mean, if this happens, it's literally going to be years, maybe a decade If Ethereum was to 20x in the next couple years, I would be absolutely beyond bamboozled. Like, that's just ridiculous. And for someone with such influence in Ethereum to be saying that, that's just absolutely out of this world, in my opinion. So there's a lot of things going on in this cycle that just are frustrating, from perps to false prophets, let's call them, like people who are just shamelessly shilling their bags. Ethereum to 62K. He also said Bitcoin to 250 in the next few months. It's just not happening. If it did, obviously, great. We're all going to be absolutely rolling in it. But at the same time, you have to keep your expectations tampered. But that leads me to the good side of the market, okay? We're seeing Larry Fink revealing that sovereign wealth funds are building Bitcoin holdings via ETFs. We're seeing, obviously, Brian Armstrong and Coinbase making a big push for this as well, saying that tokenization is going to sweep the world. And obviously, Larry Fink is still beyond bullish on the fact that Bitcoin has a large use case. We're seeing White House advisor 𝗓𝗏 saying it's time for the Federal Reserve to cautiously start cutting rates. So once we see those rate cuts, we're going to see money printing, QE. That's going to be the time where the risk on markets really open up. And this leads me to, what can we do in this market right now? Okay, there's a lot of bearish flags, but I think those are going to be more shortfalls, just the leverage problem. But on top of that, like Binance selling, I think that that's going to be short term. We do see some positive outlooks. You know, BlackRock and Vanguard ETFs just opened up this week, huge inflows. So what can we do? I liked this tweet from Lark Davis earlier this week. They dumped the market, then Charles Schwab, Vanguard, and Bank of America all roll out crypto to their clients in the same week. What a happy coincidence. That goes back to this tweet. Now liquidate them again on 100x leverage. Like, it does feel like the big money has a big grip on this short-term climate in the market. And it is ironic that right after that big dump last week, if we go back to the charts here on Gravity, let's just pull up. Let's go back a little bit to, like this level, those 80K levels. It is ironic that we pulled back from 126K all the way down to 80. And then this last weekend, we almost touched that 82K level. And then all of a sudden, that's when the big institutions, Bank of America, say you should allocate 4% of your portfolio into crypto or Bitcoin. And then we see the Vanguard ETF go live, Charles Schwab leaning into ETFs and crypto. So the timing does make you scratch your head a little bit. And I won't lie, you can fall for these pump fakes, right? The market gets so bearish, you want to consolidate. And it is a really hard game on your psychology. And I tweeted, imagine getting pump faked and capitulating on Monday just for the bull run to resume on Tuesday. So look, I got pump faked, off the pump. It did feel like, okay, that was a little bit of market manipulation. Maybe we just see a clear upside from here, but obviously that's not the case. But that leads me to the longer term trend here. If we actually just look at the chart literally for the last month, let's just go back here and see, when are we seeing high volume? But on top of that, when is the market making those little pump fake moves to the upside and taking a hit? So if we literally go back almost a full month, let's just go back 3 weeks. Let's go to the 21st. The 21st. So we had seen, I'm going to zoom up on the chart here. So for the last 3 weeks, over the weekend, from the 19th to the 21st, that would have been Friday to, that would have been like the weekend 3 weeks ago. We see here a 12% dip in Bitcoin over that time period. And then over the next 7 days up until the 28th, literally it's cyclical here. We go up to the 28th here. And we see a 13% gain from that 82K level to 92K. And then from there, what do we see? That couple days time period from the 28th to the 30th, really the first over the course of this last weekend. Let's just do the ruler here. From the 28th to the 1st, last weekend, we see a 10% dip in Bitcoin. What do we see during the weekdays? We see spikes in volume, and we see from this low going up, like we said earlier, about a 12% pump. But these die off so quickly. Volume dies out going into the weekend. Let's just look at the the analytics here on Nexus, we can see here volume's down 4% over the last 24 hours. Volume has been heavy at the beginning of the week. People build up their longs because they see the Sunday, Monday pumps, and then they get absolutely wrecked whenever the market takes a hit in the late week. And that's how I would play this weekend. I think things are literally playing out this exact way. It's a rinse and repeat right now. It's, you know, kind of tanking the markets at the end of the week and bringing back that volume early week. People build up their longs and accumulations, and then they get wrecked. So if you want to even look at other charts, it's not just Bitcoin. Let's go to Hyperliquid. We can see here on the monthly chart, going back to that 21st level. 21st, we're at $29. Pumps back up by the 26th to $35. Dumps this weekend to $29. Goes back up by, this would have been Wednesday, to $35. There are early week trade opportunities. So in my opinion, I'd be looking to open up small positions on like a Sunday, because Sunday is when that market starts to rally. We start to see Asia come in. We start to see the US markets come in on Mondays. It might sound so simple, but everyone always says break the trend or don't go against the trend. This has been the trend. Early week volume leading to a little bit of a pump fake on a market pump. And then at the end of the week, they've been just rinsing the longs. So if I was going to take a position this weekend, I'd be looking at high volume tokens, something like a Hyperliquid, a 𝗨, something like that, because they always make these moves with the market. Even if we go look at 𝗨, same exact thing. On the 21st and 22nd, down at 267. By the middle of the week at 320. Then this weekend, 257. By Wednesday, this thing was at 305. If you have a responsible long opened from Sunday to Wednesday, for example, that is a great position to take. But it has happened every week for the last month. So that's what I'm looking at. You can look at the volume data across that. You can look at anything you want. The trend is clear. The early week market pumps get erased, and then we just recycle. And until something changes with QE or money printing, this could be the climate that we're stuck in, especially with delusional investors saying that Ethereum's going to 62K, on top of the fact that at the same time, Binance is selling, sovereign wealth funds are buying. All of the signs add up to long-term upside, but for right now, I'm going to trade the trend. So on Sunday, I'm going to look to see if the market's picking up a little momentum into Monday. I might open up a couple of 3 to 5x leverage longs. Make sure your margin's healthy. Do not let yourself get liquidated. That is the number one thing. I do not trade perps often, but this is an opportunity that has been happening for the last month, and I am definitely going to take advantage of it this weekend. So that's what I'm looking at in the market right now, not going against the trend. The trend is your friend. And even with the volume spikes, you can see the weekend volume, early week volume, weekday volume, and now we're going back down here on the latest 20. This is just the 24 hours. It's just right now, it is happened every single week. I'm going to play into that trend. Long term, I'm accumulating on my spot bags. You can just spot and chill. You could buy spot early week, take some profits if you want. But for me, this is a good leverage opportunity. So I'm going to take advantage of that while this presents itself. But like I said, I'm not going in crazy size, because you never know when the market can turn around completely or even take a further dump. So make sure your margin's healthy. Don't oversize into this. Obviously, it is literally just a trading trend over the last month. I just think the volume early week doesn't lie. Make sure you get out of your positions by like Tuesday night, Wednesday, because that has been the peak of the week every single week for the last 30 days. So guys, that's what I'm doing this weekend, and I'll update y'all on Monday on the positions I have open, or if this strategy is something I'm still rolling in to Tuesday and Wednesday. So guys, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. I think we're gonna have a prediction market video this weekend going over tools and how to find an edge in any given market. So I'll see you guys then. As always, play well, my friends, trade responsibly, and stay bullish, my friends.